In a quiet suburb of Dallas, Texas, the morning sun poured down on rows of red brick houses, their white window frames gleaming in the light. The air carried the scent of freshly mowed lawns, and a sprinkling system hissed softly in the distance. Elizabeth Montgomery, Ellie to those who knew her best, pushed open the door of her family's single-story home. She stepped outside quickly, as though hoping to escape before her mother's voice caught her. But Patricia Montgomery was not a woman easily ignored. "Ellie," she called from the doorway, her voice, firm but weary, carried across the yard. "Aren't you listening? This Sunday is Vanessa's promotion celebration. You're coming, aren't you?" Ellie froze beside her car, the keys dangling in her hand. Slowly, she turned. Patricia stood there with the poise of a retired schoolteacher, hair neatly styled, a simple dress pressed to perfection, her posture upright as if she were addressing a classroom. "Sorry, Mom," Ellie said carefully. "I have an important meeting on Sunday." Patricia's lips pressed into a thin line. "Work again? For that little company of yours?" Her voice softened only when she added, "Vanessa's been made assistant branch manager at the bank. Isn't that wonderful? Such a stable profession. I'm so proud of her." Ellie forced a polite smile. To her mother, everything boiled down to stability, respectability, and tradition. She had never understood Ellie's choices. Little company. That was the phrase her mother always used, dismissing what Ellie had built. If only she knew the truth, that Ocean Connect technology had shaken the very foundations of the shipping industry with its groundbreaking logistics system. 3 years ago, it had been acquired by a major corporation, making Ellie a multimillionaire before she had even turned 30. But to her family, she remained the one chasing foolish dreams. "I'll try to reschedule," Ellie murmured, giving her mother the answer she wanted. Patricia nodded approvingly, already satisfied. "Good. Your father and Vanessa will be so pleased." Just then, Richard Montgomery appeared, stepping out of the garage with a fishing rod in one hand and a tackle box in the other. His plaid shirt was tucked neatly into khaki pants, and his wide-brimmed hat shaded his face. He looked every bit the content retiree. "Going fishing, Dad?" Ellie asked, lowering her car window. "Yes," Richard replied, clearing his throat as though embarrassed to admit he had embraced leisure. "Mr. Smith invited me. Having more time for hobbies since retirement has been wonderful." He adjusted his grip on the rod. "By the way, did you hear about Vanessa's promotion?" "Yes, Mom just told me," Ellie said, bracing herself. "Isn't it wonderful? That's why people should have stable careers." He glanced at her sleek black sedan, a vehicle far nicer than he realized. "Ellie, don't you think it's time to be realistic? Are you still clinging to that small business of yours?" Ellie smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Dad, I'm just following my own path." Richard sighed, his brow furrowing. "I worked 35 years in insurance sales. I know the value of security. Your dreams are," he paused, searching for a gentle word, "unrealistic." Ellie said nothing. She had heard this lecture countless times, ever since childhood, when she sketched business ideas instead of playing with dolls. At family dinners, her parents praised Vanessa's sensible choices and scolded Ellie for being impractical. When she majored in business administration, they had urged her to apply for stable office jobs. And when she revealed her dream of starting a company, the family held what they called an intervention. They had sat her down in the living room, voices overlapping with warnings and discouragement, until she felt like an outcast in her own home. "See you later, Dad," Ellie said, ending the conversation before the familiar sting could settle deeper. She started the car and drove off, the suburban houses giving way to the glass towers of downtown Dallas. Her phone buzzed in the cupholder, the screen lighting up with her sister's name. "Hey, sis." Vanessa's cheerful voice rang out the moment Ellie answered. "Did you hear? I've been made assistant branch manager." "Congratulations, Vanessa. That's wonderful," Ellie said sincerely. "I know, right? Mom and Dad are thrilled. We're planning a celebration this Sunday. Can you make it?" "I have a meeting, but I'll try to reschedule," Ellie replied. There was a pause. Then Vanessa lowered her voice, as though confiding a secret. "Ellie, how long are you planning to stick with that startup? It's been, what, 3 years? If things aren't working out, I could put in a word for you at the bank. You'd have stability, benefits, a real future." Ellie pulled over, letting her car idle by the curb. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly, pushing down the frustration that threatened to rise. "Thanks, Vanessa," she said, her voice calm and steady. "But I'm fine. I love what I do. Things are going better than expected." Vanessa hesitated, unconvinced. "I see. Well, anyway, I'll see you Sunday." The call ended, and Ellie let the phone drop into her lap. She rested her forehead against the steering wheel, her chest tightening with a familiar ache. Her family would never see her as anything but the reckless dreamer who had strayed from their idea of success. But that would change soon. Ellie had been planning for months. On her 33rd birthday, she would reveal everything: the success of her company, the wealth she had accumulated, and the fact that she had recently acquired Royal Neptune Cruises, one of the most prestigious cruise lines in the world. She had chartered one of its luxury ships exclusively for her family, arranging every detail in secret. There, she would finally tell them the truth. A luxury car for her mother, a state-of-the-art fishing boat for her father, and funds for a new home for her sister, gifts that would show them her love had never wavered, despite their doubts. It would be the moment her family would look at her not with disappointment or skepticism, but with pride. For the first time, Ellie Montgomery would no longer be the daughter with unrealistic dreams. She would be the woman who had built an empire. And she could hardly wait. Leader, after which she herself acquired Royal Neptune Cruises. Vanessa's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the velvet sofa, her face pale and her breath shallow. "My sister, a millionaire," she whispered, as though the words themselves were impossible to accept. The idea that Ellie, the sibling she had teased and dismissed, could have achieved so much sent a shiver through her. Patricia, standing stiffly by the mahogany table, gripped the back of a chair as though for support. Her hands trembled slightly. The news had landed like a blow, unraveling years of assumptions. "She was very much looking forward to your arrival," the staff member continued gently, his voice betraying a trace of sympathy. "I understand she arranged this special journey to celebrate her birthday with her family." "But we didn't invite her," Patricia said in a small, broken voice. The words felt heavier than stone as they left her lips. The staff member's expression stiffened. He paused, searching for diplomacy. "I see," he said at last, choosing his words with care. "In any case, by the owner's instructions, your family will receive our finest hospitality. A personal butler and chef will be at your service 24 hours a day. We will also prioritize any activities you wish to participate in." He bowed, his posture respectful, and withdrew from the suite. When the door closed behind him, a suffocating silence filled the room. The three Montgomerys looked at each other but found no comfort in each other's eyes. "This is impossible," Richard muttered, pacing back and forth. He raked his fingers through his graying hair. "Ellie, achieving such success? Why didn't she tell us?" "Maybe she was trying to tell us," Vanessa said quietly, her voice cracking. She hugged her arms to her chest as though shielding herself from the truth. "Today is her birthday. She probably wanted to surprise us. And we." Patricia's eyes welled up with tears. Her voice trembled. "We excluded her." That confession hung in the air, heavy and sharp, and none of them could deny it. Hours passed. The ship had already left the harbor, its engines humming steadily as it cut through the darkening waters. The Montgomery family, usually so chatty and opinionated, remained confined to their suite in silence. Their phones lit up again and again as they dialed Ellie's number, but each call went unanswered. "She's not picking up," Patricia said at last, her voice drained of hope. "I don't even know what I'd say if she did." Richard stood out on the balcony, leaning heavily against the railing. The coastline was shrinking into the distance, swallowed by the horizon. His voice was hollow. "To think, my daughter was so successful, and I dismissed her every single time she tried to share her dreams." A knock broke through the heavy stillness. The butler stepped inside with perfect composure. "Mr. and Mrs. Montgomery, Miss Vanessa, an invitation from the captain. Would you be able to join him for dinner at the captain's table?" The three exchanged glances. Once, such an invitation would have filled them with pride. Tonight, it felt more like judgment. Still, they dressed in silence and made their way to the grand dining hall. The captain's table glittered under soft chandeliers. Other guests cast curious glances at them, whispers trailing in their wake. When they arrived, Captain Marcus Johnson rose from his seat, his uniform immaculate, his presence commanding yet warm. "Welcome, Montgomery family," he said, shaking Richard's hand and nodding respectfully to Patricia and Vanessa. "It's an honor to have you as our special guests tonight." They forced polite smiles, though none of them could lift the weight pressing on their chests. As the dinner progressed, the captain spoke with genuine admiration. "Your daughter is extraordinary," he said, his eyes lit with conviction. "Her logistics system revolutionized the shipping industry. Processes that once took days now take mere minutes. And when she acquired this company, all of us, every employee, rejoiced. She treated us like people, not numbers. She raised standards, improved working conditions, and introduced environmentally responsible practices that set new benchmarks for the industry." Patricia, clutching her glass of water with trembling fingers, asked in a soft, almost pleading voice, "Was she always this successful?" The captain gave her a gentle look. "Her path was not easy. The first 2 years, I've heard, were filled with hardship and failures. Many would have given up, but your daughter, she never did." The words cut deep. Patricia flinched as memories surged. How many times had she told Ellie to be realistic, to find a stable job? Richard's jaw tightened. He remembered mocking her plans as childish. Vanessa lowered her gaze, ashamed of every joke she had made at her sister's expense. "We've prepared a special video," the captain announced. At his signal, the lights dimmed, and a screen descended at the end of the hall. The image flickered to life. Ellie appeared, seated in a sleek office, sunlight streaming through tall windows behind her. She smiled warmly at the camera. "Dad, Mom, Vanessa, if you're watching this, then you've discovered my little secret," she said, her voice calm, steady, yet touched with emotion. "First, I want to say that this was meant to be a surprise. On my 33rd birthday, I wanted to share my success with you, finally." The screen shifted, showing footage of Ocean Connect Technologies' early days, small offices cluttered with papers, late-night work sessions, prototypes being tested. Then came scenes of shipping docks, ships being loaded with precision, and the company's exponential growth. Finally, a headline flashed: "Ocean Connect acquires Royal Neptune Cruises." "The first 2 years were really tough," Ellie's voice narrated. "I thought about giving up many times, but I kept believing in my dream, even when no one else did." At these words, Patricia's tears spilled over, falling onto the linen tablecloth. The video returned to Ellie's smiling face. "I wanted to give us a chance to rebuild, to enjoy a luxury cruise together, not as a display of wealth, but as a way to reconnect, as a family." But now, her smile faltered, and sadness entered her eyes. "I realize my presence isn't necessary, so instead, I'll leave you with this gift, an experience I hope you'll never forget." The screen froze on Ellie's radiant smile, a smile full of both love and distance. The captain's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "Miss Montgomery has arranged for you to receive the highest level of service during your stay. She loves you, that much is certain." The Montgomerys returned to their suite with pale faces, carrying the crushing weight of guilt. "What have we done?" Patricia whispered, her body trembling. Vanessa stood at the window, staring at the vast black ocean. Her voice was faint, fragile. "We've always looked down on Ellie. I mocked her. I belittled her. I'm the worst sister in the world." Richard buried his head in his hands, his broad shoulders hunched as though the shame itself was crushing him. "Our daughter was this successful, and we never saw it. Worse, we laughed at her dreams. We smothered her spirit." The three sat in silence, their minds replaying years of careless words and missed opportunities. They remembered every time they dismissed Ellie's ideas, every time they added a "but" to her small triumphs, every time they chose stability over belief. And now, on her birthday, they had planned to celebrate without her. "We need to apologize," Patricia said at last, her voice raw but determined. "But how can she believe us now?" "We start by being honest," Richard said quietly, his eyes, red with unshed tears, lifted toward the ceiling. "We admit what we did. We were wrong. We didn't respect her. We didn't believe in her. And maybe it's not too late to change." Vanessa sank into the sofa, her voice cracking. "I think I was jealous of her. She always believed in herself. I never had that courage. Instead of admiring her, I mocked her." Their words faded into silence. broken only by the sound of the waves brushing against the ship's hull. Outside, the full moon rose high above the water, casting a silver path across the dark sea. The ship sailed onward, carrying with it a family who, for the first time, truly saw the magnitude of what they had lost.